So here's the sitch on the ATL box score today. We get into a Atlanta Braves profile of the players and playaz. We'll explain more about that. Then we have our college basketball guy on. It wouldn't be Wednesday without having Ned Kaish join the show. And we talk about that thriller game between Kentucky and LSU and Duke's huge comeback last night. This is the ATL Box Score podcast with Alex Berger, Atlanta's newest sports podcast, and you're listening to Pro Style Wednesday. Now, you guys might be wondering, how does a podcast that just recently started, what do I use for recording space? Well, I actually use a place called Spaces, and I go to the center that's Spaces Midtown East, and I use their resources that they have here to create my podcast and to put it out there to the world and to do other business-related things. And it's pretty much my home base to grow my business and my product that I'm developing for you guys. And if you want to check it out, I have Steve Choi with me, who is one of the regional managers who manages a lot of different centers, also with Spaces and the Regis brand, to tell you more about Spaces Midtown East.
Hey, thanks, Alex, for inviting me on the show. We love having you as well as ATL Box Score with us here at Spaces. I want to invite anybody, all your listeners, to come in and take a test drive. Let us know that Alex sent you. We'll give you a free 5-day test drive to Spaces, which is a hybrid, collaborative, and private workspace location. We're all over the world, particularly here in Atlanta. We have 5 locations, and we'll be opening 2 more soon here. So I am the area manager. Come on in. We offer private offices as well as 8,000 square feet of collaborative space for our members to come in and check it and just be productive. So again, come on in. Let us know that Alex sent you and the ATL Box Score, and we'll go ahead and set you up for 5 days free.
Well, thank you, Steve. Definitely appreciate you. Definitely appreciate your friendly staff for helping me out and giving me all the resources I need to be successful. If you want to know more about Spaces Midtown, they are just a block north from the Fox Theater. I know all you guys know where the Fox Theater is. They're just a block north from the Fox Theater, and I'm going to put the website in the show description, so you have no excuses if you're like me trying to start your own business or your own brand. Check out Spaces Midtown East. Well, I hope that you guys don't feel this way.
On one, who picks up the first down. Balcovici never saw the man coming, and he is lit up.
So I hope that I hope that you don't feel that way, got blindsided like the quarterback for the San Diego Fleet versus the San Antonio Commodores. If you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, then that was actually a clip that made it, and I got off of ESPN's Facebook page. So that was actually that clip of that quarterback from San Diego getting blindsided by one of the guys that was coming off the line for San Antonio. And just, if you haven't seen it, look it up, because it is an impressive thing. I mean, I haven't seen a hit like that, not on a quarterback, but it reminds me of when Jadeveon Clowney, the defensive end that plays for the Houston Texans, Texans when he just lit up that running back from Michigan where his helmet popped off and there was a fumble. Like I haven't seen a hit like that since pretty much that time. So that, yeah. So with that, I'm going to say, bring on Steve Choi. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing better than that guy. I feel like that's some hump days for sure.
Yeah, for real.
But I'm doing well, man. Did you happen to catch the Hawks game last night?
No, I didn't. I knew they were playing the Lakers, and you had the LeBron disciples come out.
They did come out. The good news was Hawks won, which is a surprise.
Yeah. Go Hawks.
But was even more interesting were Hawks fans chanting "Kobe's better."
Man, they were just hating. They were just hating on him.
They were killing LeBron every time he touched the ball. Poor LeBron. He feels like he doesn't get the respect he deserves.
Well, when you have that attitude, when you have that going on for you, well, you just don't really deserve to be respected. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, Kobe's better.
Kobe's better?
He's got the 5 rings to prove it.
That's like the debate, the age-old debate with like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
Right, exactly.
Manning had the stats, Brady has the rings.
Exactly. I bet you Manning would trade those stats for those rings any day.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think he would want to get the touchdown passes taken away from you. Maybe the yards. Maybe he'll trade the yards.
True.
So, with that, in case you're wondering, this is the ATL Box Score podcast. This is Atlanta's newest sports podcast. If you wondered, what the heck did I just wander onto? I'm Alex Berger. Alongside me is Steve Choi joining me in this segment. And right now, we're actually about to get into a Braves profile, where we profile we profile players and a player in the Braves organization. And we're doing this because it is 44 days till the Braves open up their season up in Philadelphia. And depending on when you're listening to this could be 43 days, 42 days, since we're a podcast and it's an on-demand form. So right now on Wednesday when we're recording, we're at the 44-day mark. And we're about to get into Ronald Acuna and gonna give you guys our thoughts and opinions on him. So now what we're doing before baseball season starts, because pitchers and catchers report on Friday, buddy.
I love it.
You love hearing that.
You know why? Because it means spring is near.
It does mean spring is near. I can't remember for Groundhog's Day, like if it's he saw his shadow and winter's going to be over, or is it like
he did.
So winter is going to be over soon. I know you Game of Thrones fans, people aren't really happy about that. But with that, since baseball's coming soon and it's going to be here, I thought on the show that we would get into what we like to call a Atlanta Braves profile, where we profile. We profile a Atlanta Braves player, preferably, or a player, meaning someone in their front office,
right? Or a player.
Not the one from Magic City.
Whoa.
So we profile someone who's also making moves in the front office. And I thought we would start off this Braves profile talking about Ronald Acuna.
Yeah. Big time.
because he was he didn't even play a full season last year. Because you had Ozzy Albies, who was doing so good in April with the hot bat, so there was really no reason for Ronald to come up. But man, when he came up, and you knew that this was coming, I was a little bit optimistic. I was a little skeptical. I was the opposite of optimistic, where I was like, I hope this guy doesn't turn out to be the next Jason Hayward. That gives us good, solid years with in the Braves organization, then just kind of fizzles out. Because you've seen this with guys in the Braves organization. But I feel like with Ronald Acuna right now, he's kind of like that freshman running back that just finished his freshman season. Georgia fans, you know this all too well. Same with Auburn people. That he's that guy that has hit 26 home runs. 22 of those was against NL opponents. So he had because I don't want to make things complicated for people like myself and people who kind of watch baseball like baseball, but don't really get into the nitty gritty of statistics. I could talk about how many times he made it on base and his art, all that stuff, and because baseball statistics in general are a little confusing to me with the percentages and stuff like that.
It's a whole to do.
Right.
There are guys, I remember when I was in high school, that had notebooks, and that's like a job in itself, keeping the baseball stats.
Yeah. I mean, you have guys that are just spectators that just bring those notebooks and do that stuff, like
it's pretty interesting.
do stats and stuff like that. But with this too, I mean, I feel like the potential for this guy, he could be possibly the next Hank Aaron, possibly. I feel like maybe a more realistic standpoint. I think he might be the next Andrew Jones for this Braves organization. I hope that he can be in the Braves organization for a long, long time. But at the same time, I feel like the downside to him and the negative side is, okay, like with the running back thing. Yeah, he's had a good freshman season, and it's kind of like, wow, we have this guy for X amount of years. But usually in that sophomore season, he gets injured, or he just doesn't have the productivity that you were expecting out of his that you saw out of his freshman season. And that's my concern with Ronald, because now pitchers have a lot of film on him. They know that it's like he's that guy. If you throw him the right pitch, he will go yard with it. And by the way, too, he makes hitting home runs look so easy. He makes watching baseball for this Braves program look fun again.
Nice.
But at the same time, like pitchers, like I said, pitchers have a lot of tape, so it's like they'll know how to hit around him, or that it's like in key situations, you're going to see a lot more pitchers this year walking him in those situations. So that's my big concern, having a stellar freshman season going into a sophomore season. Is he going to perform up to expectation? Because the expectation of him, since he hit 26 home runs, would to be in that 30 range of 30 to 35 would be awesome, and would probably put the Braves deep into the postseason if he can get that productivity out of him. A disappointing season would be hitting 20-something home runs, I feel like, or 20 or less, I should say. So, but for the Braves to be successful, he has to hit at least 30 home runs, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like he's sort of a role player.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. Every year when somebody breaks out like that, that's new. The crucial year is going to be their second year because you're right. Pitchers start getting used to it, used to their habits, and then they start figuring out, how should we pitch to this guy. It's always similar to when trades happen. It's always better for a player to go from one league to another, like American League to National League or vice versa, because those pitchers aren't used to facing that batter, so they have an immediate sort of benefit for that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year.
Right, especially, too, because I think, too, like, he is a role player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of another football analogy, like guys like Randy Moss or Jerry Rice or AJ Green.
Gotcha.
Like their role
They have their specific
role. His role in this Braves organization is to hit home runs.
Right.
But since the Braves play team baseball,
yeah,
that the situation isn't always going to be called for that.
Well, doesn't he have a pretty decent on base?
He does have a
percentage?
good on base percentage.
So that's a good thing because then as long as he can get himself in scoring positions,
right?
But
it's like at the same time, like the reason why guys like AJ Green, Jerry Rice, and Randy Moss, the reason why they were in the teams that they were playing for is so they could take the top off the defense. They could catch that deep home run ball.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for Ronald. He's there to hit home. He's there from the Braves organization to hit home runs. There should be no question about that.
Right.
But sometimes during ball games, it doesn't call for that. It just calls for you to get on base.
Yeah.
Like with me, podcasting.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not the most opinionated person when it comes to sports.
Okay.
But I'm good at having interviews, having conversations with people.
Gotcha.
That's my strength.
So you get on base.
I like to. Having a really good interview is like hitting a home run for me.
Nice.
Getting on base is doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Giving opinion type of pieces and just talking.
Makes sense.
That can wear me out. I love having like an interactive conversation.
I gotcha.
So just to throw an example out there about what's going on, but then everything else is just pretty much gravy.
I can't wait till as we get closer to baseball season. It's going to be exciting. I mean, the Braves made the playoffs again for the first time after missing it for a while. So I think all eyes are on the Braves that they're going to make some big moves to sort of bolster their young staff, right? So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. I mean, they can only go up from where they're at.
Also, too, your Giants were trying to get back into the postseason.
They are.
They're in the Bryce Harper sweepstakes.
One of the most hated players in Atlanta is Bryce Harper, right? So I think he's talking to the Giants, and we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, that. I could see him go. I just know he's going to go to a West Coast team. Either
he's from Vegas, right? I think
so. Yeah, from Vegas. Probably would like to play a little bit closer to home. And
I wouldn't want to. If he goes to the Dodgers, it's just like whatever. I mean, obviously they have the money, so I wouldn't want.
If they had Bryce Harper in the World Series this year, they would have probably won.
Yeah, they probably would have done something well.
Yeah, like he would have hit a walk-off home run or get like a significant home run during the game to...
Yeah, no. I mean, it was... Look, the Giants, I would love for him to go to the Giants because the Giants, they're a little old. Like, local Georgia star Buster Posey.
Mm-hmm.
He grew up in Georgia. He's, he's on the latter stages of his career. And... Madison Bumgarner from North Carolina. another Southern boy. He's probably got a couple more good years in him, but if they don't rehaul their team now, they're probably not going to make it for a while.
Right. And who wouldn't want to play with Bryce Harper if you guys get him?
Yeah, I mean, you either love him or hate him, I think.
Right.
And I know all the Braves fans hate him.
Right.
Unless he played for them.
Right. But just in case you're curious, too, going back to the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna is actually from Venezuela.
Okay.
I thought he was from the DM.
The DM.
The Dominican Republic.
Okay.
The DR. My
Right.
bad.
Yeah.
Why did I get DM from?
I don't know.
My
I
dyslexia sometimes.
was gonna say the DMZ.
DMZ.
The demilitarized zone. But
and you know all about that one, don't you?
what?
Well, with that, we're actually going to switch gears, talk some college basketball. Fun talking about baseball. We're going to continue on profiling the Braves. The Braves players and playaz. That's exactly what we're going to call it from now on. The Braves playaz and players and playaz. Because let's just face it, sometimes in major league contracts, you just get played. I mean, it's just that type of business.
It's true.
So with that, we're gonna bring on Ned Kaish, our college basketball guy, and that was a heck of a last night. If you weren't paying attention, Kentucky goes down with a buzzer beater. Duke come back by like 8 when they were down by 8.
They're down by like 23, I think, in the second half.
Yeah, but at halftime they were.
Yeah.
Before halftime they were making their moves and coming back.
Yeah.
According to the ESPN's box score, I'm just going off that score.
It was a big comeback. It was one of the biggest comebacks in college history, I think.
It's another reason why Zion Williams should probably be that lottery pick. So.
Oh, he's definitely gonna be.
Oh yeah. But it's like, it's one thing to continuously blow out people with your skills and everything like that. It's another thing to do that and come back in a fashion.
Absolutely.
I mean, because I feel like that's what separates the goats from the sheep. The guys that can come back. So Tom Brady knows all about that and everything like that. And we mentioned Bryce Harper and Tom Brady in like less than like 5 minutes of each other.
We're gonna get some hate mail now.
I know we're gonna get some hate. We're gonna get those 2-3-star reviews.
The trolls are coming out.
Yeah.
We've just woken up the trolls.
We probably have. just
troll bait.
Right.
Tom Brady.
Right.
Bryce Harper.
Yeah, we're that.
LeBron. We also mentioned LeBron James.
We did mention LeBron James. But we went. Yeah. By the way, I'm not a LeBron fan. In case you guys curious. So.
No way.
No. I'm a team fan. I'm for guys that are team players.
Right. I forgot.
Like your guy, Stephon Curry.
Steph Curry is the best player ever.
So we're having too much fun here, but by the way, we're going to get Ned Kaish on the show to talk college hoops. And, I mean, the man, if you haven't heard Ned Kaish, the man is impressive, can just rattle off anyone's starting five. I mean, so... Well, it seems like there's a trend here at the ATL box score, and it seems like nowadays it wouldn't be Wednesday or a Wednesday show without having Ned Kaish on the show to talk about college basketball, and that's the case today. And Ned, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. I told you right before we hopped on, I'm still coming off the high of Super Tuesday. We had multiple unbelievable games, a couple upsets. It was a big-time day yesterday in college hoops.
Yeah, it was a big Saturday, and then Saturday led into Tuesday. I think Tuesday was really unexpected.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think the biggest shocker to everybody was Michigan losing to Penn State. I know road games are tough, but for Michigan to lose to Penn State, who's really struggled this year in the conference, was surprising to a lot of people. The Michigan coach John Beilein got ejected at halftime when they were down like 17. It sparked a little bit in Michigan. They started to come back and chip away, but they just couldn't overcome that big deficit. I know we'll talk about Duke and Louisville. That was a big deficit. And then LSU beating Kentucky, proving they're legit.
Yeah. I want to talk about this LSU Kentucky game because the SEC for a minute looked like the ACC in this game. And usually in these big games for the SEC in the past, it was just someone would come away with it in the like 5 minutes into the second half, where you would have a Kentucky team up by like 20, or in this case, if since LSU won, they would be up by 20. But now it seems like this LSU team obviously has the horses to run with this Kentucky team, and I even like what the head coach said at the end for LSU that this isn't the Kentucky team of the past. We're not playing John Wall. We could beat these guys, and I thought that to me was just really inspiring to see how it all went down with a last minute buzzer beater, because I thought Kentucky had this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people did. They were up 8 at home at halftime against LSU. We kind of talked about them last week. They were 9-1 or 8-1 of the conference at the time, and we knew they had a chance with Kentucky ahead of them and Tennessee still ahead of them on the schedule. But I didn't really think they were for real, and they proved me very wrong last night. Just chipping away, outscoring Kentucky by 10 in the second half. Tremont Waters, who's their stud guard, had kind of an off game, but perfect at the free throw line, which when your guards can do that's huge. And then they've got good complementary scoring between Waters and the junior Skylar Mays. Those two combined for almost 30 points a game. Waters adds 6 assists. Bigby Williams, who had the tip in last night, is kind of just a really good role player as a forward. So LSU is really, really a complete team. Kentucky, I was just kind of looking at the box score and the stats last night, and free throws really seem to be the difference. Kentucky shot under 70%, and LSU shot 86%. And I think if Kentucky had made 4 or 5 more free throws, obviously the score is a lot different, and the situation of the game is a lot different.
Yeah, their leading scorer for LSU had 15 points, which was that Waters that got it in at the end of the game. So I just want to know, just big picture wise, does this loss hurt Kentucky in any way?
I don't really think it does. Like we said, they still have 2 matchups with Tennessee, so if they can split those, that'll obviously go a long way towards helping them. The committee came out with their top 4 seeds that I know we'll talk about, but they had Kentucky as a 2 seed, and Kentucky bounces back with Tennessee on Saturday night. So it's a big chance for them to have Tennessee at home again. It's kind of like when Duke lost to Syracuse a couple weeks ago and then had Virginia at home again. Teams like Duke and Kentucky, they don't lose twice at home. So, if they can knock off Tennessee, they'll be right back on track. And I think still in a position to be a 2 seed and maybe even a 1 seed, depending on how things play out.
Right. Yeah, and I do want to talk about that game at the end of our conversation. But the other game that was a thriller, and you just don't get these type of games, was Duke and Louisville. Because going into the half, Duke was down by like 8 points. It was 38-29 Louisville, and somehow Duke just came back in Duke fashion and got out of there with 3 points. So, what were your thoughts on that game?
Louisville was a better team for 30 or 31 minutes of that game. And Duke, I think they just kind of came out expecting to win. I think a young team coming off that win against Virginia, going into another hostile environment. Sometimes you don't have that same focus, back to back on the road, and it's tough. And then, once Duke started to play the way that they can play, it changed everything around. It was two big things. It was the fact that Zion Williamson played the last 10 minutes with 4 fouls, which was, unbelievable for him to play that way and be smart enough to stay out of foul trouble. And then it was a lot of coaching adjustments by Coach K. He, went to the full court trap. He put in their backup point guard who doesn't play a lot but is a really good defensive player, and he ended up with 2 or 3 steals and a handful of deflections. Duke went to a zone on defense, and Louisville, couldn't really figure it out. It was a press zone, and Louisville never really got into their sets. And I think Louisville just, it was like an avalanche. Once it started to come downhill on them, nobody really knew what to do, who to go to, who to look for. And, coming off that overtime loss they had on Saturday to Florida State, and this loss, blowing a 23-point lead with 9 minutes to go, it was it's going to be tough to bounce back for Coach Mack in Louisville.
Now, do you feel, because Louisville beat they beat North Carolina, which was a pretty significant win. Do you feel like that they're going to need help with the ACC tournament, or could they have a good seeding going out the rest of the way of their schedule?
Yeah, I think they're pretty firm in the NCAA tournament. Looking at their schedule, their tough games are at Syracuse versus Virginia. They got to play Virginia twice, home and away, and then they've on the road at Syracuse. Their other 3 games are pretty winnable. So, they could still finish, 20-10 and be in a position to be, I'd say, anyway.
With just tell me about Zion Williams in this game and his performance, getting his team to come back the way he did.
Yeah, you could tell he was frustrated in the early part of the game. And Coach K said in his press conference afterward, Louisville was so well prepared for what Duke did. And I think you saw some of that frustration. And, he picked up 3 quick fouls in about, 5 minutes in the first between the first half and early in the second half. Then he came back in and picked up his 4th about 30 seconds into re-entering the game. Again, I just think it speaks to the way Coach K coaches. Zion after the game in his interview said, they said, what did Coach K say to you guys in the huddles? And Zion said he told us he doesn't coach losers. He only coaches winners, and he's going to coach us back to a win. And I think, when you have young freshmen who are talented and you see that frustration, when you have a coach like Coach K who can, just continue to stay in their ear and stay positive and push them and know how these guys work and tick. I think it's really, really impressive. R.J. Barrett had an off game, 13 points. I know it was one of his lowest scoring of the outputs of the season. But Cam Reddish played huge, as he has the last month or so. And then Trey Jones. If you look at his stat line, he was 6 points, 2 steals, 2 assists, 5 rebounds. But he played all 40 minutes. And he was the defensive pressure. He was the calming point guard when things got out of control. So I just think that was really a complete team win. Obviously, Zion dominated with the way he can score in the post so quickly, and he shot 8 and 9 from the free throw line, which is well above his season average. So it was cool to see a guy like him, have a slow start, but when the moment got big, he was there to step up and make the plays.
Do you think this is going to say a lot, too, with his draft stock, that he's just not only dominated teams, but this game in particular, he had to rally his team for a comeback, and he was part of that comeback.
Yeah, no doubt. He's got a complete game. Even coming into college, I viewed him as just an athletic freak who could, throw the basketball down with the best of them. But his ability to catch the ball on the low block and turn and spin quickly and finish everything from inside 4 or 5 feet. He can grab a rebound on the defensive end, go coast to coast. He really is more impressive and amazing almost every time you watch him.
Right. Now I just want to talk about the local teams real quick, because recently that there's been some things going on, good and bad, with Georgia and Georgia Tech. And reading an article from the AJC by Michael Cunningham talking about that Josh Pastner's in the third year of this rebuilding stage that he had to do from Brian Gregory, and the results aren't there yet. And it seems like the Georgia Tech people are getting a little bit impatient because they describe Pastner's program as trending down.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to recruit at Georgia Tech, and actually, in fact, I had a chance to talk to a former Georgia Tech assistant who was there under Paul Hewitt for a handful of years, and he just said it's very the type of kid you have to recruit to Georgia Tech is a special kid. You know, it's a guy who wants to go to a non-traditional program with tough academic standards. It's a school where you don't see a ton of one and dones, and so I think that is a little bit part of it. I think he's got to figure out what guys fit best for his program. I know about a month ago they just got Jordan Usher to transfer in, who's a kid who went to Duke for a minute, then went to South Carolina or Southern Cal for a minute, and now he's looking to come back. So, I think Josh may have to Coach Pastner, excuse me, I don't know him personally, may have to change the way he recruits a little bit, and maybe it is finding some transfers who need to, come in for a year and be part of your program and put in their time and understand what it takes to play at a school like Tech and be successful at Georgia Tech. He's had some guys transfer out. He had Josh Okogie leave early for the league. So I think that's been part of it. But I almost feel, and I know you mentioned it talking about Pastner competing for the guys that go to Duke and UNC. And, maybe he needs to look at those guys who are going to Virginia and Villanova and will redshirt for a year. And part of that is just building a program. And I think there's multiple ways to do it. You see the one and done here, and you see the Tony Bennett, Virginia, Jay Wright, Villanova, where you're getting 4 or 5 year guys to come in and really build a true program more than a team year to year.
Yeah, let me ask you about, because you had like guys like Alex O'Connor, who's they were in that sweepstakes and he went to Duke, and you also got guys like I'm probably going to jack up this name, but Nasser Little, who's with North Carolina. I said that right?
Nasir, close enough.
Nasir. Okay, Nasir Little is going to North Carolina. They were in that sweepstakes and just passed on that. So I just want to know, especially since you're involved with a little bit of the high school game in this state, what is it like trying to recruit kids out of private schools? Because that's the talent that they're going to have to attract, or that's the academic standard that they're going to have to go for. I know with Paul Johnson and on the football side, they've actually tried to go after a lot of private school kids.
Yeah, I mean, I just stuttered right there. let me try that again. I think it's tough to go after those big recruits because there's just not as much tradition at Georgia Tech. I mean, Little going to UNC, there's so much tradition there. O'Connell going to Duke, his dad played at Duke, so he knows that tradition, and I think, he's probably a kid who imagined going to Duke his whole life. But I think there's two big things that Pastner has to do to get these kids in state to stay, and it's, be really well connected with the high school programs and the coaches. And when you tell a coach, hey, we want this guy, you want that coach to go to that player and say, Georgia Tech wants you. This is a great program. Coach Pastner is a great guy. He's doing fantastic stuff. So getting in with the high school coaches is big. And now the other thing that's big for him is trying to compete with Tom Crean down at Georgia. I mean, now you've got two coaches who are well-known names in the college game, coaching in the same state, competing for the same players at programs who, frankly, are very middle of the pack, and they're trying to change. So I think that's a big part of it. I also think, players recruiting players is a big part of the recruiting process now. I mean, this Duke class, they talk about Jones, Reddish, Barrett, and Williamson had a group chat going for 2 years, and even before some of those guys were committed to Duke, they were still in that group chat, kind of, hey, come play at Duke. Let's go do something special. So I think you need a player who is committed to your program for multiple years and is so excited about it that he wants to go get his AAU buddies or his high school buddies and say, let's all go to Georgia Tech and do something special.
Right. Because the way they sum it up is that you just expected more from Josh Pastner at this point, especially because I think a lot of people thought, and maybe this is where a lot of people went wrong, that it's like the job he did at Memphis was going to be the job that he was going to do here or better because he had more resources. Now it seems like he's just doing worse down here than he did at Memphis.
I think it's, like I said, it's recruiting two different kinds of athletes and two different kinds of people and players. But, I would agree. I mean, I expected more out of Pastner. I know on this show I've defended him because it's tough to be a college basketball coach in a Power 5 conference, no doubt about that. But I think some Georgia Tech fans, have the right to be a little bit upset with the way the program has kind of plateaued between the last two coaches.
Mm-hmm. Now on the other side, on the flip side of that, you also have Georgia recruiting Anthony Edwards, who is a 5-star recruit, and this was a huge steal by Georgia. And this is probably going to be the highlight of Georgia's basketball season so far, getting a 5-star recruit like this. Fox couldn't get 5-star recruits like this. Do you feel like this is the final imprint? Instead of hearing Tom Crean talk and say that we want to achieve all these things and everything like that, he backed it up by signing this guy.
Yeah, it definitely is huge for his program. And I think, kind of like we talked about, he had 2 other 4-stars recruited, and a kid named Jaquan Walton, and the other guy's last name is Camara. He's actually foreign, but he's playing basketball in the States. So, I think when you have 2 4-star recruits already in your class who are top 100 guys, it's easier to recruit a guy like Edwards. You can say, hey, look what we already got. We've got these 2 talented guys. Now you can come in, be the focal point, and you're going to have all kinds of talent around you. Now, was it a surprise? Yes. I mean, you knew Georgia was in the running in his final, 3 or 5. He plays at Holy Spirit Prep here in Georgia. But he's the highest recruit that's ever committed to Georgia. He's the highest recruit that Tom Crean has ever recruited. And I think that speaks to Crean's recruiting ability. I mean, when he was at Marquette, he got Dwayne Wade, and I know Dwayne Wade was under, a little under-profiled. But, he got a big-time player. And then he got Victor Oladipo when he was at Kentucky, who was at Indiana. And Oladipo was a huge recruit. So, I think with Crean's ability to recruit, and then you add in the facilities and the atmosphere and the athletics, the way they're supported at Georgia, it really makes Crean's job, that much easier. And on top of that, Oladipo and Wade they're all-stars. They're Wade's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. So
right.
There's a pedigree to the guys that Crean has coached that not every coach in the SEC has.
I was going to mention that Tom Crean had Dwayne Wade, but to my question, I was going to add,
and I believe he had Jimmy Butler too.
I think so. Yeah,
Butler may have been after he left, but I think he may have been there for a year or two.
Yeah. But what I was going to ask you, though, do you feel like, because Georgia, from a football standpoint, now with Todd Gurley and Sony Michel both in the Super Bowl, that Georgia's in this world was kind of floated around during the Super Bowl, that they're RBU. Having those guys go on to that next level, like you said with Tom Crean, coaching a guy like Dwayne Wade, who's going to be a Hall of Famer because of what he did. Do you think that that's attractive to players, knowing that you've had a track history of coaching a guy that's gone on and had success in the NBA?
No doubt about it. And I think the one thing that's a little bit different is, there's guys like Calipari and there's guys like obviously Krzyzewski and Williams who've had one and dones and have coached them well and taken them into the NBA and very successful careers. But I think now you have Crean and if you're Edwards, you'd look at this and say, I can go to Georgia. I can be the face of that basketball program. I can be the face of college basketball in the state of Georgia, and I can run this show, and I don't have to worry about sharing the wealth with other guys. And Crean's going to kind of let me do my thing with these talented guys. So I think there's, I don't know if it's a level of expectation or just, maybe kind of question mark expectations. How is Crean going to let these one and dones and these 4 and 5 star players play? Is he going to kind of coach them the way Duke's coaching their guys with an NBA system, spread the floor, not a lot of sets, just let them go be athletes? Or is he going to try to rein them into the college game and running sets and eating shot clock and all that kind of stuff? Now, we've talked about it. Crean likes to play fast and get up and down, and that's the way the NBA game is. So I think some of these guys see that as a chance to play that up and down pace, a year early.
With all that too, I know this probably isn't going to get talked about with his recruitment, but that had to leave an impression that for like the past couple of weeks, especially on a Saturday, that Stegeman Coliseum has been sold out. And it's like Georgia's record is like barely 2 games over 500. Do you feel like that has a lot to say about the Georgia program, that you have that avid fan support, and when you get good, that it's like this is going to multiply 10, 20 times more?
It definitely speaks well to Dog Nation and the way that they appreciate and love their sports. I also think it speaks to Tom Crean and just the energy he's bringing to that school for the basketball program. We saw it a couple of years ago at Auburn with Bruce Pearl. I mean, when he got the job, he was, giving away donuts in classes. He was going into classes, getting people to start the fight song. He was seen all over campus, just getting people excited about the basketball program. And now they're doing really well, and they're something like 26-2 in their last 28 home games because they've got a great home environment in the SEC. In fact, one of the Kentucky players said it was the hardest place he'd played all year. So I think, when you get a coach who understands the importance of having the student body and the entire university and even the community in Athens and in the state of Georgia to fully get behind them, it makes it easier to sell to recruits. Hey, look at this crowd you're going to be playing in front of every Saturday, every Tuesday night, whatever it may be, not just when Kentucky comes to town.
Now, switching gears, and something you wanted to talk about when we got you on, that right now like even you mentioned this too. Right now you have the projected seedings for the tournament that came out recently. So I just want to know what are your thoughts on that?
I thought they got it pretty right. I think that the 1 and 2 seeds, the 1 seeds right now are Duke, Tennessee, Virginia, and Gonzaga. Duke and Virginia, I think they're going to stay there. I think those are 2 of the top 4 teams in the country, no doubt about it. Obviously, Duke's win last night really proves that. Tennessee is going to have to play Kentucky twice, so that that 1 seed could be a little bit in jeopardy if they lose both. If they split those, I expect them to stay at the 1 seed. Gonzaga is kind of the team that a lot of people have question marks on. They're, obviously they play on the West Coast, so no one sees them play a lot. But I just don't know if they have the depth of talent that they've had in the past. I think their starters and their top 3 or 4 are really good. But once you get to that bench, I'm just not sure it's the same Gonzaga team we've seen in the past. I'm sorry, excuse me.
No.
The 2 seeds are Michigan, UNC, Kentucky, and Michigan State. And those are all teams who, I think can lock themselves in the 2 seed as long as they don't lose any unexpected games. And a couple of them could, keep playing well and sneak their way into a 1 seed there. And then it's going through the 3 seeds. It's Marquette, Purdue, Houston, who's getting the credit they deserve, and Kansas, who's still in contention as much as people want to write them off. And then the 4 seeds are Iowa State, Nevada, Wisconsin, and Louisville. Obviously, Louisville's 4 seed will be in a question. Wisconsin lost to Michigan State last night, so we'll see where that goes. But, Nevada, I think, could even move up to a 3 seed as the season goes on because they're going to have an impressive record by the end of the year.
Out of those 3 seeds, Houston, Kansas, Wisconsin, which one of those are maybe 2 or 3 I could possibly see? Which one of the 3 seeds right now could totally ruin someone's bracket come tournament time?
I still think Marquette is under the radar. A lot of people haven't really thought about Marquette too much since Tom Crean left and Butler and Wade were there. But now Steve Wojciechowski's got them playing awesome. They've got the point guard Marcus Howard, who averages 20-plus a game and can go for 30 or 40 almost on any given night. So I think Marquette is really talented. They've got multiple guys who can score. They can play fast. They can play slow. So I like Marquette. Kansas obviously is still talented. Bill Self has a lot of experience, but again, kind of like with whoever I mentioned, Gonzaga a moment ago, Kansas has been hit with some injuries, so they don't have a ton of depth right now.
Right. Which one of these 1 seeds that are projected 1 seeds could possibly be a 2 seed, and which one could possibly be out of the tournament, like going into the Elite 8 or Sweet 16, or maybe in the first round?
Yeah, I would say Gonzaga. Again, just because they haven't played the toughest schedule and they're not as talented, so that can make it tough. Virginia kind of always has the question mark of can that style of play win in the tournament. I think this is their best offensive team they've ever had with these 2 guards and DeAndre Hunter on the wing. But at the same time, if there's a game where they're struggling to score, they get down 8 or 10, and I know they got down 8 and came back against UNC on Monday, but if they play another team like Villanova or somebody who gets up, or even Wisconsin who gets up 8 or 10, and the other team slows the game down, unlike UNC, it could be a tough comeback for Virginia.
No, I just want to talk about the headliner game for this Saturday. And by the way, too, guys, hope you're taking notes because we're getting you ready for the NCAA tournament, so that way you can fill out all your brackets flawlessly.
And win that pool.
Win that pool of money. So I hope you're taking notes, but Ned's talking about because he's giving some good stuff. I just want to talk about this Saturday because you have Tennessee and Kentucky going at it, which – for the most part, I feel like this is a pretty odd rivalry, even though it's considered a rivalry. Because with football, usually Tennessee's been the dominant football team, and then when it comes to basketball, that Kentucky's been the dominant basketball team. So this thing has been pretty lopsided so far, and it seems like this is the sport where both teams are at a pretty even level, and now it's going to be unveiled for the whole world to see what type of rivalry this rivalry game is, and that especially Kentucky losing last night, you know that they're going to be pretty pissed off when they're playing Tennessee, and this is their redemption game. And obviously Tennessee wants to prove to themselves that they have a program that could possibly win a national championship.
Yeah, no doubt it's a big one for Kentucky. And first off, I'm going to say I hope the Kentucky football defense wasn't listening when you said that Tennessee's been dominant, because I know Josh Allen and Cash Carlson will come after you on Twitter if they hear this.
I'm talking historically. I'm not talking recently.
Sorry, I just had to bust your what's there. But yeah, I mean, Tennessee playing in Rupp is huge for them. Tennessee's got the experience, so I don't think Rupp is going to freak them out or anything, or give them to the deer in the headlights look. But it's a tough place to play, and if that crowd gets going on Kentucky's side, it's tough to get that momentum back, to the away team. I think the big thing for Kentucky, in the last couple games, it's hurt them, is Ashton Hagans, their point guard, is kind of struggling. He's kind of hit a little bit of a freshman slump, if you will, and part of that is, you're playing more games than you might in a high school season, and you're playing, the intensity is different. And the way Calipari is going to make you practice is going to be more intense. So part of that could just be the legs and the mental fatigue of a full season. But I really think he needs to play well, because Tennessee's bigs are so good with Schofield and Williams. And Kentucky has Washington and Travis down low on the post. So the inside game is going to be a battle. It's going to be really fun to watch in this game. And I just feel like guard play can be the difference, whether it's Hagans or even Hero for Kentucky making a lot of shots, or Jordan Bowden for Tennessee, who's kind of an unsung hero, maybe doesn't have the sexiest stat line, but does a lot of things for that team defensively and getting them set up in their offense.
Right. Well, it should be a good one to watch on Saturday, and hopefully, because usually, like I said, these SEC games someone always seems to be up by 20 points, 5 minutes left to go in the second half. So hopefully this is going to be a good game, like we saw against LSU and Kentucky and Louisville in Duke on Saturday. So with that, where could we reach you at on social media to hit you up if any of our listeners have any questions, or hopefully they won't try to troll you, but where can we reach you on social media?
We're getting to that point in the year where teams can really start to make me look silly for the things I've said, so hopefully I won't get trolled too hard. But
well, you said last week that you hit the retweet button, but yeah, where can we find you at?
Yeah, it's at the real Ned Kaish on Twitter. I was smashing the retweet button on some of those Duke highlights from last night.
Oh, I bet you were.
It was a great night in college hoops last night, and we got some good ones on tap. The rest of the week and going into the weekend. I know for our in-state fans, Georgia's hosting LSU, and see how LSU responds to that big win. A young team, having to go back-to-back road games, a little bit of a letdown game for them. So maybe Tom Crean and his boys can serve up an upset special to the Tigers.
I hope so, but it doesn't look likely.
Gotta have faith, Alex. Gotta have faith.
It's signing Edwards, then beating the Tigers, that would be something. But thanks for being on the show today, Ned, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking some college hoops.
Absolutely. Everyone enjoy your Valentine's Day. Watch college hoops.
Yeah, take care of your lady. All right, thank you, Ned. Well, I have to say, for not having a podcast like we usually do on a Monday, but we ran into technical and scheduling complications. Just going to put it that way. But this has been pretty fun, coming back and getting to do this podcast. And if you haven't heard, and I'm going to leave this information. Right now, we're recording this on a Wednesday at like 12:40. I'm pretty sure this news is spread and there's been more details about it. I'm just going to say the Ravens trade Joe Flacco to the Broncos. And I know with the Ravens, he's kind of gone downhill, but at the same time, I feel like it might be time you might see Joe have a decent comeback, or maybe probably retire with the Broncos, depending on how it all shakes out. But I don't really want to focus on Joe Flacco. Like me and Steve talked about, I'm bringing out all the haters in the show. Now I'm going to bring out all the Matt Ryan haters. Yeah, you might hate Matt Ryan, but at least he's spent his whole career with the Atlanta Falcons. And the reason why I correlate Matt Ryan with Joe Flacco is because Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco were in the same draft class. Matt Ryan went first, was the first quarterback taken. And I'm not sure when Joe Flacco got taken, but I know they were in the same draft class, and they were both first-round quarterbacks. When it came to NFL careers, when it came to winning and stuff, I feel like Matt has probably beat Joe Flacco. Matt's definitely beat Joe Flacco in the stat column, kind of like Brady and Manning, but Flacco has one ring on him. But at the same time, at least Matt Ryan hasn't gotten traded. So that's all I have to say. For right now, I stand behind the Falcons quarterback and support him. Yeah, I support Matt Ryan. I'll just put it that way for right now. Things might change. And if the Falcons have a change at quarterback in the next 5 years, I'll support that decision too. But right now, I stand behind Matt Ryan. I'm just going to put that declaration out there. So, with that, this is the end of our show, and I just want to thank you guys for listening, tuning in, especially if you're listening to this part of the show. But this is where we need your help, because you hear me behind the microphone and stuff, but we actually need your help with helping promoting the show, helping just getting our names out there, because you'd be surprised, like, the like button in this internet age actually goes a long way, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. So we definitely need your help. If you could like the podcast wherever you found it. Some places like iTunes, I don't think it necessarily has like a like feature, but it has what you could rate the podcast. So if you think we deserve a 5-star rating for from a podcast that recently got started, that I'll be the first one to admit we do have some limited resources when it comes to things that other media outlets have. Just be sure to give us a 5-star rating, because definitely we're trying to work as hard as we can on this show, giving our best show, putting our best shows out there. And we're not like 6A the Fan that can just bring on anyone. We're still trying to work with that and trying to find creative ways to spread our reach. So definitely we could definitely use the support by the like button or giving us a high rating. But we want to get your thoughts and opinions of what you think of Ronald Acuna, what you think what happened in college basketball. Put that in the comment section, because we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you think. We're leaving it all open for pretty much trolling, because we kind of put it out there. So if you want to troll ahead, troll away. But I mean, I'd appreciate if we could have some feedback that is constructive. I'll just put it that way. So be sure to put that in the comment section, because we definitely want to hear. And also too, if there's something that you guys want to hear talked about, we're about to get into some Atlanta United stuff. and we'll have some guests on that are very well skilled in Atlanta United and the goings on with the Five Stripes. So stay tuned for that. We're working on something right now that's going to be pretty awesome when it comes to Atlanta United coverage here at the ATL Box Score. So just putting that out there for right now, and stay tuned for that. But again, give us a good review. Be sure to make your opinions known in our comment section, because we'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to get some sort of interaction going on with that. But with that, I've definitely gone over time, and I just want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate you guys, because at the end of the day, I just want this community that we're just talking about. We're just talking to friends, and we're talking to friends about sports. So that's why I always say, welcome, friends. But yeah, we just want to make you guys feel welcome, help you guys get through 285, 75, 85, 400, wherever you guys are stuck in traffic or on MARTA or anything like that. We just want to give you guys something to listen to during that time period, and that's one of the reasons why it's always a long podcast. You can always skip ahead. I hope you listened to the whole thing, but yeah, I just want to thank you guys again for listening, tuning in, and we could definitely help. If you want to support this podcast more than just an online presence, well, I do have information on the show description. You need to check that out, because like I said, we are a startup podcast. We're just trying to get our name out there, just trying to do this thing, and hopefully God can help make this thing grow into something special. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you for listening to my rambling on about just about stuff, and giving you a little bit of a sincere moment than we're kind of used to around here. So thank you guys. Hope you guys have a great day. Hopefully we got you through the middle of the week. We'll see you guys in the next podcast. Episode 28 is out.